There are nights when the city holds its breath. Brooklyn, 1 in the morning. The third floor of an old tenement is burning, but the fire does not roar. It whispers, as if it had been promised this moment a very long time ago. Inside, a woman closes her fist around a small silver locket. 2 H's interlaced, cold as ice, forgive me. For my silence, down on the street, 3 black sedans cut their headlights at the same instant. Men step out. Not one of them speaks. They have done this before. In 1692, on the fire escape, a figure in a long black wool coat begins to climb. Slowly, silently, his eyes are not blue, not gray-silver. He has been waiting for this night for 218 years. The woman closes her eyes, and the entire building, every bulb, every flame, every star above Brooklyn, goes out. Dop skummel darkness. And somewhere inside it, someone is laughing. The brass lantern closed at 1 in the morning. Marlo Hardigan locked the front door from the inside. Counted the tips in her apron pocket. $43. A handful of change. Better than Monday. Worse than Friday. About what a Tuesday in November paid a waitress in Manhattan. Her feet hurt. Not the regular hurt. The kind that climbed up her calves. Settled in the small of her back. The kind that made 26 feel like 50. She caught her reflection in the chrome coffee machine. Honey hair pulled back tight, pale skin under fluorescent light. Eyes that used to be called pretty by boys back in Albany. Green washed with gray. Eyes that hadn't slept in 3 months. She looked away, because she didn't like what looked back. Desmond Fairweather came out of the back office. 62. Reading glasses on a chain. The kind of man who called every woman under 30 kid and meant nothing by it. Or so she had always thought. You closing up, kid? All done, you look beat, I am beat. He smiled. The way fathers smiled. The way she imagined they did. She wouldn't really know. Hers had walked out before she was born. Take an extra 20, Desmond said. He slid a crisp bill across the counter. Thanksgiving's coming. Buy yourself something's nice. I can't. You can. End of discussion, he winked. She took the 20 thanks, Des. Get home safe, Marlo. The city's been weird this week. Weird how? He paused, a half second too long. Just long enough to notice. Not long enough to name. Just weird. Watch yourself on the subway. She nodded, pulled on her coat, plived out into the November cold. She did not know yet that the man who had just told her to be careful was about to send 3 cars after her by sunrise. That the warm 20 in her pocket was payment from a man who had been paid himself, by other men, for 4 straight years, to keep her exactly where they could find her. She didn't know. She kept walking. Manhattan in late November had its own kind of dark. Not real dark. The city wouldn't allow it. Streetlights, headlights, the blue glow of bodegas open at 1 a.m., selling cigarettes and scratch tickets to men who had run out of both, but underneath all that light, something else, the real dark. The kind you felt before you saw. Marlo felt it tonight. She did not know why. She walked 4 blocks toward Grand Central, past the man who sold roasted nuts and called her sweetheart in a way that never felt wrong. Past the veteran on 42nd who saluted her every night because she had once handed him a coffee in September. Past the closed bookstore with the orange cat in the window. The cat usually slept. Tonight the cat sat up straight, yellow eyes wide, tail flicking. Watching her, she kept walking. Grand Central at 1 in the morning was almost holy. The painted constellations on the ceiling. The marble floors were echoing every footstep. Mr. Pemberton, her 7th grade history teacher, used to say New York was not a city. New York was a museum that had forgotten it was a museum. She thought about Mr. Pemberton sometimes. He had been the closest thing to a grandfather she ever had. She took the stairs down to the 6 train. The downtown platform was empty except for a drunk businessman asleep on a bench. A maintenance worker pushing a broom. The lights buzzed. The air smelled like steel and stale pretzels. The train came. The doors opened. She stepped on, and here is where everything changed. Though she didn't know it yet, because that is how these things work. You step onto a train thinking you are going home. You don't know that the rest of your life is sitting in the corner of the last car, reading a book. In the dark. The car was empty, almost one man. Far end, long black wool coat, hands gloved. A book open on his lap. He did not look up when she boarded. Did not look up when the doors closed. Did not look up when the train lurched forward with that sick jerk all uptown trains had. She moved to the middle of the car, sat down, closed her eyes, 16 hours on her feet. Pancakes and burnt coffee. A toddler who threw a milkshake at her. A businessman who hit on her between bites of his cheeseburger. An old woman who left 3 pennies and a folded note that said, "God bless you, dear." She still had the note in her pocket. She did not know why. The train rocked. She felt herself drifting. Don't fall asleep, Marlo. You always miss your stop. She opened her eyes. Forced focus on the ads above the window. A dentist in Queens. A divorce lawyer. A community college in the Bronx promising dreams could start in 6 weeks. She wanted to laugh. She didn't have the energy. The train slowed, then stopped. Not at a station. Between stations, the lights flickered. Stayed on. A garbled voice over the speaker. Something about a delay. Something about a switching problem at 59th. Marlo sighed. Of course, because the universe owed her one more inconvenience tonight. She closed her eyes again. She did not see the man in the corner look up. She did not see him close his book. Slowly, carefully, like a man closing a chapter of his own life. She did not see him stand. She felt the train lurch. That was all. The kind of lurch that came when an engineer released the brake too fast. But Marlo was already half asleep. She felt herself tip backward, slow at first, then not slow. Her body had no muscle left to catch itself. Her hands flailed, found nothing. Her back hit something hard. Her head hit something softer. She gasped, opened her eyes. She was sitting in someone's lap, in a stranger's lap. In the lap of the man from the corner of the car. Except he wasn't in the corner anymore. He was right behind her seat. Sitting where she had been about to fall, as if he had moved, across the entire length of the subway car. In the half-second between her tipping and her landing, which was impossible, which couldn't be, which her brain refused to process, his arms were around her waist. Cold. She felt the cold through her coat, through her sweater, through the cotton against her skin. Cold that wasn't human cold. She tried to stand. His arms tightened. Not roughly, just. Tightened, sir. She meant to say more. She couldn't. Don't stand up yet. Marlo. His voice was low, quiet. The kind of voice that did not need to be loud because it expected to be heard. He had said her name. Her name. Her brain caught up. Her brain caught up and started screaming. How do you? Your apron. She looked down. She wasn't wearing her apron. She had left it on the hook in the back room. I'm not wearing. I know. She twisted to see his face. His arms allowed it. Just enough. His eyes were silver. Not blue-gray. Not green-gray. Silver, the color of an old coin. The color of something that had been polished by time until it forgot what it had been to begin with. Let me up, I will now, in a moment. Please. The please surprised her. It surprised her enough that she stopped struggling. You've been on your feet 16 hours, he said. Your left heel is bleeding inside your shoe. She stared. Her left heel was bleeding. She had noticed at hour 12. Forgotten, because there was no time to notice anything else. How could you possibly? I noticed. You don't know me. I know you better than you think. The train was still stopped. The lights buzzed. His arms loosened. Slowly, reluctantly, like he was savoring something. She stood, stepped away, 3 feet, 4, turned to face him. He was tall, taller than he had been sitting. 6'3", easily. The wool coat broadened him, but not by much. He had the kind of shoulders that belonged in oil portraits. His hair was black, cut short, brushed back from a forehead with a thin white scar at the temple old. He didn't look more than 35. Who are you? He reached slowly into the inside pocket of his coat, pulled out a small black card, held it out. She didn't take it. He waited. She took it. Matte black. Heavy stock. The kind of paper that cost something. 1 line of text. Embossed in silver, L. Ascroft. Trusts. 1 Wall Street, that was it, Ashcroft, yes, that bank. You own it, I run it. She turned the card over. Blank. I don't understand. I know. How do you know my name? He didn't answer. How do you know about my heel? He didn't answer. How did you get from that seat to this seat in less than half a second? He looked at her. His mouth moved. Not a smile. Would you believe me? Try me. No, what? No. You wouldn't believe me. Not yet. The train lurched. The lights flickered. Outside the window, the tunnel began to slide past, faster. The conductor's voice apologized. Marlo gripped the pole. What do you want from me? He stood. He was even taller standing. I want you to know your mother's name. The world stopped. Her ears rang. What, Evelyn? What? Her name was Evelyn Hardigan. She had your eyes. She had your stubbornness. She didn't abandon you. She died protecting you. And what you have been told your entire life is a lie. The train pulled into 59th Street. The doors opened. He stepped past her. His coat brushed her arm. She felt the cold of him again. He paused at the door. Did not turn his head. When you're ready, he said, use the card. He stepped off. The doors closed. The train pulled away. Marlo stood alone in the car, holding a black card, staring at her reflection in the dark window. Her mouth was open. Her hands were shaking. Her mother had a name. Her mother had a name, 26 years. 26 years of not knowing. She had asked, as a girl. The caseworker in Albany said the file was sealed. The director of the home said the records were lost in a flood. The state of New York told her, at 18, that no biological records existed for one Marlo Hardigan. Ward of the state, removed from a fire in Brooklyn in November 2007. No surviving relatives listed. No surviving relatives. That had been the line. She had read it so many times it became a wall. A fact. A piece of furniture in her head. Evelyn. She mouthed the name without sound. Her mother had been a person with a name. Her mother had been Evelyn. The train pulled into 68th. She did not get off. She lived 3 blocks from 68th, a 6th-floor walk-up that smelled like cumin from the Pakistani family below her, bleach from the laundromat next door. Tonight she stayed on, rode to 77th, then 86th, then 96th. She rode the train uptown to the end of the line and back. Did not notice the conductor change shifts. Did not notice anything except the black card in her hand and the name in her mouth, Evelyn. By the time she got off at 68th, it was almost 4. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked her door, did not turn on the lights. She sat on the edge of her bed with her coat still on. She set the black card on the nightstand. She reached under her sweater for the small silver medallion she always wore on a chain. The one the caseworker had told her was junk, costume jewelry, found in her small fist when the firefighters carried her out of the fire. She had been told it was worth nothing. She had worn it 19 years anyway. She looked at it now. She looked at it the alley she had never looked at it before. 2 inches across. In the center, a letter H, not a printed H, handwritten. 2 H's overlapped. Like initials, 2 H's. She had always assumed both were for her. Hardigan and Hardigan. A redundancy. Stupid. Now she stared. Her mouth went dry. 2 H's. For 2 people, Evelyn Hardigan, and she did not finish the thought. Because she noticed something else. She had not noticed it in 19 years. The medallion had a seam. A thin, almost invisible seam around the edge. The medallion was not a medallion. The medallion was a locket. She pressed her thumbnail into the seam. It didn't open. She tried harder, nothing. She got a butter knife from the drawer, by the sink, came back, wedged it into the seam, pressed. The knife slipped, cut her thumb. She didn't notice the blood until it dripped onto the wood. The blood ran down, pooled in the seam. The seam clicked, the locket opened. She froze, her thumb bleeding, her hands shaking. The locket lying open like a tiny silver mouth. Inside, on the left, a photograph. Small, cut down to fit, black and white, cracked at one corner. Woman. Maybe Marlo's age, maybe younger, honey hair, pale skin. A scattering of freckles across the nose. Marlo's eyes. Marlo's mouth frozen in a half-smile. Except it was not Marlo. The woman in the photograph wore a sweater Marlo had never owned, stood in a kitchen Marlo had never seen, was holding against her chest a baby with a small fist gripping a silver medallion identical to the one Marlo now held in her shaking hand. The baby was Marlo. The woman was her mother, the mother she had never seen. The mother she had not known had a name until 3 hours ago. Marlo pressed her fist to her mouth. She makes a sound, not crying. The sound a person makes when 26 years of a particular kind of loneliness ends in a single second, and they do not know what to do with the silence after. Evelyn, hello. Mother, hello. She sat like that for a long time. The dawn came. A thin gray light saw through her one window. The kind of New York November light that made everything look like an old photograph. Then she looked at the right side of the Locket. She had not looked. She had been so stunned by the left, there was no photograph on the right. There was an inscription, 6 words. Engraved in script so small, she had to angle the Locket toward the window to read. For my daughters. Forgive my silence. Marlo stopped breathing. She read it again. For my daughters. Forgive my silence. Daughters. Plural. She held the Locket up so close to her eye that the cold metal touched her lashes. The S was unmistakable. The S changed everything. She had a sister. A sister. She had a mother named Evelyn. She had a sister she had met. And somewhere in this city, a stranger with silver eyes and a black calling card knew all of it. She did not sleep. She watched the ceiling come into focus as it rose over Manhattan. Thought about the man on the train, his arms around her waist. The cold of him, the way he had said her mother's name. Quickly, the way someone says the name of a person they have loved and lost. The way someone says a prayer, she thought, and thought, and thought. She got up at 7, did not go to work. Called Desmond and told him she was sick. He was strange on the phone, a fraction too quick to say it was fine. A fraction too curious about why, just a flu, she said. Stay home. Drink fluids. Don't come back until Thursday. Friday's fine. Thursday, Des. I need the hours. Thursday, Marlo. I'll see you Thursday. He hung up. She stared at the phone. She had worked at the Brass Lantern for 4 years. Desmond Fairweather had never told her to take an extra day. Not when she had the flu in 2022. Not when her foster grandmother died in 2023. Not when she had broken her wrist last spring. But today, he insisted. She set the phone down. Went to the window. Looked out at the street 6 floors below. A black sedan was parked across from her building. It had not been there yesterday. It had not been there last week. It was idling. She could not see through the tinted windows. She watched for a long time. It did not move. She stepped back, picked up the Locket, picked up the black card. L. Ashcroft. Ashcroft Trust. 1 Wall Street. She turned the card in her hand. She thought about Evelyn, about her sister, about firefighters in 2007 carrying a child out of a burning Brooklyn apartment with a silver locket in her small fist, and nobody ever asking who put it there. She thought about a man on a train who had said her mother's name in a voice that sounded like grief. She put the card in her pocket, put the locket around her neck, put on her coat. Walked out of her apartment. Down 6 flights. Out the front door, the black sedan started its engine. She did not look at it. She turned right. She walked toward the subway. She was going downtown. She was going to Wall Street. 1 Wall Street was a tower of limestone and granite. Marlo stood across the street and looked up. The building had been there since 1931. Mr. Pemberton had told her once, in 7th grade, that this was the corner where the original Federal Hall had stood, where Washington had been sworn in, where the country had begun. The corner felt heavier when you knew that. She crossed the street. The revolving door spun her into a lobby of black marble and bronze. The ceiling, 30 feet high, murals of harvests and ships and men's coats counting gold. The air smelled like polish and old money. Money that had outlived the people who earned it. A security guard looked up. 60-something. Bald. Reading glasses. Name tag said Reggie, help you miss. She held out the card. Reggie looked at it. Reggie did not look at it long. Reggie pressed something under his desk. A woman appeared from a side door. 50s. Steel gray hair in a tight bun. A dove-colored suit that probably cost more than Marlo's rent. Miss Hardigan, you know my name. Of course. Of course, Mr. Ashcroft has been expecting you since 6 this morning. Marlo did not move. Who are Yai, my name is Hester Vale. I am Mr. Ashcroft's executive assistant. I have been for 31 years. 31 years. Yes. And how old is Mr. Ashcroft? Hester smiled. Not a friendly smile. A patient one. That is a question for him. She gestured toward a private elevator. Marlo looked at it. Looked back at the revolving door. Thought about walking out. Thought about the black sedan. Thought about her mother's name. She stepped into the elevator. The doors closed. Hester pressed a button without a number. The elevator climbed fast enough that Marlo felt her stomach pull. Floor numbers blurred past. 40, 50, 60. They stopped showing after 65. The car kept rising. How tall is this building? 70 stories. Are we going to 70? Mr. Ashcroft's floor is private. The elevator slowed, stopped. The doors opened. She stepped out into a hallway of dark wood. Floor of green marble. Hand-painted constellations on the ceiling. At the end of the hall, a single door. Hester did not approach. He is as inside. You're not coming. No, dear. Why? Hester looked at her with something Marlo could not name. Pity. Maybe. Or envy. Or the look of a woman who had been near a great fire for 31 years and never been allowed inside, because what comes next is not for me. She stepped back into the elevator. The doors closed. Marlo was alone. She walked. Her boots made no sound on the marble. She shut the door. She did not knock. She did not need to. The door opened from the inside. Lucien Ashcroft, in daylight. He was not wearing the wool coat. Charcoal suit, cut narrow. Older than current fashion. White shirt, no tie. A pocket square the color of dried blood. His silver eyes found her. Come in. She came in. The room was enormous. A library wrapped around a study. Wrapped around a sitting area with leather chairs older than the United States. Windows on 3 walls. The 4th wall was bookshelves to the ceiling. A brass-railed ladder. A globe in one corner with countries on it that did not exist anymore. She stopped in the middle of the room. Sit, he said. I'd rather stand. All right, he sat. The way old men sat. Kitsifally, with awareness of every joint. Except he did not look old. He looked 35. And he sat like a man who had been sitting for 2 centuries. Tell me about my mother. You don't want pleasantries. No. All right. He folded his hands. Your mother's name was Evelyn Beatrice Hardigan. Born 1969 outside Hartford. Moved to New York in 1991. She came to me in 1998, not to work for me. To find me. There is a difference. Why? Because her grandmother told her to. Why? He looked at her for a long second. Because the Hardigan women have been finding the Ashcroft men for a very long time. She did not sit. But her knees softened. How long? Since 1789, her mouth opened. Closed, the year George Washington was inaugurated. Yes, at Federal Hall, yes. 2 blocks from here. Yes, she walked to the leather chair. Sat down. Not because she wanted to. Because she had to. Mr. Ashcroft, Lucien. Are you telling me you are 237 years old? Yes. And you expect me to believe that? No, I expect you not to believe me. That is appropriate. But I am also telling you the truth. Those 2 things are not in conflict. She laughed. She didn't mean to. This is insane. I know. This is absolutely insane. I know. She stood up again. Walked to the window. Put her hand against the glass. Lower Manhattan spread out below her. The Brooklyn Bridge. The harbor. The Statue of Liberty in the distance. Holding her torch up against the gray November sky. Her great-great-something grandmother had lived in this city when Washington was sworn in 2 blocks away. A man behind her had been there when it happened. She turned around. Show me proof. Or, I walk out. He stood. Walked to the bookshelves, climbed the ladder. Not like a man. Like a cat. 2 rungs at a time. No sound. He pulled a slim leather album from the top shelf. Came back down. Set it on the table. He opened it, a photograph. Black and white. Old cracked. A woman in a Victorian dress. Tight bodice. Honey hair pinned up. Eyes that Marlo knew. Her own eyes, the caption beneath in faded ink. Cordelia Hardigan, 1872. He turned the page. 1903. A woman holding a child. Marlo's mouth. Marlo's eyes, another. 1928. A flapper laughing into the camera, another. 1947. Polka dots. A Buick, another. 1969. A woman holding an infant. The infant gripped a small silver, something around the woman's neck. Margaret Hardigan and her daughter Evelyn. Marlo sat back down. She did not remember sitting. You photographed all of them. I knew all of them. They came to me, or I came to them. Generation after generation. Since the first Hardigan woman walked into my bank in 1789 carrying the locket her mother had given her. The same locket you wear now. Her hand went to her throat. Why us? Why my family? He sat across from her. In 1692, in Salem, Massachusetts, 19 people were hanged for witchcraft. One man washed under stones. Many more were accused. Most were innocent. Some were not. The Hardigan line came from one of the not. Witches. That was the word the men with rope used. Your line called themselves light bearers. Light bearers. The Hardigan women carry something in their blood. A gift older than this country. The ability to shape light. To brighten what is dim. To darken what is too bright. To see what is hidden in the spaces between. And I have it. Yes, I don't have it. Not yet. I'm 26. You haven't been desperate enough. The gift comes when it is needed, not before. Your mother's came the night of the fire. She had not asked yet. She's asked now. Tell me about the fire. Lucien stood. Walked to the window, spoke with his back to her. Which was kinder. Which let her cry without being watched. Which let him say it without being watched, too. November 14th, 2007. Your mother lived in a third-floor walk-up in Bedford-Stuyvesant. She had 2 daughters. You were 7. Your sister was 9. My sister? Imogen. Imogen. Yes, I have a sister. You have a sister. He turned. She is alive. Marlo. The words hit her in the sternum. She made a sound. The sound from underneath her life. Where is she? Safe. I will take you to her. But first you need to hear the rest. She nodded. She could not speak. Your mother had been hiding from a group called the Silver Order, descended from the men who built the gallows at Salem. They never went away. They put on suits, moved to New York, moved to Boston, moved everywhere their work might be needed, and they came for her, for the locket. For you, for your sister. Why didn't she give them the locket? He turned fully. His silver eyes were wet. She had not thought they could be, because the locket is a key. It opens a vault. The vault holds a treaty. The founders signed it in 1789. They signed it with my kind. They signed it with your kind. They signed it with others. The Silver Order has been trying to destroy that treaty for 236 years. My mother died for a treaty. Your mother died for you. I don't see the difference. The difference is everything. He stepped closer. He knelt. A man in a charcoal suit on the floor of his own library, looking up at her as if she were the one with the answers. The night of the fire, the Silver Order came for the locket. And both of you. I was 3 minutes too late. His voice broke on the word. He did not look away. Your mother hid you behind the couch. She hid Imogen in the closet. She was buying time. With her life. How? She had her gift. She turned the light. She blinded them. For 2 minutes. Long enough for me to get in. Long enough for me to get you both out. She could not see. Her eyes were full. You carried me. I carried you out the window. Down the fire escape. Imogen was already on the street. A friend of mine had her. My mother. I went back. And she was gone. Marlo doubled over. She did not cry like a woman. She cried like a child. The child she had been on the fire escape. The child she did not remember being. Lucien did not touch her. He waited. When she lifted her face, her hair was loose. She looked, for the first time, like the woman in 1872. Like the woman in 1903. Like all of them. She looked like a Hardigan. Why didn't you raise me? Because 2 children in one place is a target. The only way to keep you both alive was to keep you apart. I placed Imogen with my friend. I placed you in the state system in Albany. The state system is loud and chaotic, the worst place to hide a child, and therefore the best place. I paid for everything from a distance: the scholarship, the grant for your nursing semester, the anonymous donor who covered your rent the month after your foster grandmother died. That was you, yes, and you never came to see me. I came every year, on your birthday. I sat across from you at a coffee shop, a booth at a diner. You never noticed me. I never spoke. I made sure they had not found you. I made sure you were eating. I made sure you were not too lonely. She pressed her fists to her eyes. That's not normal. No, that's not okay. No, but she lowered her hands, looked at him, not angry, just stunned. Thank you. He closed his eyes. He nodded. He could not speak for a moment. Your mother asked me to. With her last breath, in the smoke, she made me promise. Watch over my girls. Don't touch their lives. Just watch. Keep them alive. So I did. For 19 years. For 19 years, she looked at the locket, closed her fingers around it. Take me to my sister, soon now. Marlo. Now, Lucien. He stood, looked at her with something she had not seen yet. Respect. All right. We drive at sundown. Why sundown? He almost moaned. Why? Say it what? Say what you are. He did not look away. I am a man. I was changed in 1789 against my will. I have lived too long. I have loved one family for 2.5 centuries. I promised your mother I would not let her daughters die, and I will keep that promise even if it kills what is left of me. Vampire. The word felt small in her mouth. He nodded. That word will do. She walked to the door. Stopped. Lucien. Yes, on the train. You said you'd waited? I had. Why that moment? He looked at her for a long time. Because your mother said you would come to me when you were ready. She said one day you would be tired enough, desperate enough, and you would fall, and I fell. You fell into my lap on a subway car. Coincidence? No. How do you know? He almost smiled. Because I have been riding the 6 train at 1 in the morning every Tuesday for 19 years. She stared. Every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. She did not know what to say. So she said nothing. She walked out. Hester rode the elevator down with her in silence. The bronze lobby. Reggie tipped his cap. She stepped out into the November air. The black sedan was on the corner. It pulled forward. Marlo did not break stride. She crossed the street. Walked toward the Wall Street subway entrance. The sedan followed. She turned the corner. The sedan turned. She walked faster. The sedan sped up. She broke into a run. 2 men jumped from the sedan. Tall, wide, black coats. She knew without looking they were not police. She ran toward the subway. Past a coffee cart, a hot dog vendor, a saxophone player playing for tips. The men were faster. A hand grabbed her elbow. She spun, swung, missed. The hand tightened. Another hand came up, something silver. A syringe, then. A black wool coat blurred past her, a sound like glass breaking. The man with the syringe was no longer holding her arm. He was no longer standing. He was no longer conscious. The second man turned. The second man went down before he finished turning. Lucian Ashcroft stood between them and Marlo. He was not breathing hard. He was not breathing at all. Get in the car. What? My car. On the corner. Now, she ran. A black Bentley. Engine running. Driver in front. She got in. Lucian got in beside her. The Bentley pulled away, through the rear window. 2 men on the ground, a crowd forming. Sirens in the distance. She looked at Lucian. Her hands shook. How? They were watching your apartment this morning. I saw the sedan. They followed you here. They want the locket. Or you. Probably both. I gathered the Bentley, turned uptown. Where are we going? Out of the city. To my sister, to your sister, where? Massachusetts. The Berkshires. A house I have kept since 1790. It looked out the window. Manhattan rolling past, the bridges, the river, the neighborhood she had walked through this morning. She was leaving. She had not packed a bag. She had not told anyone. She had not told Desmond. A cold feeling climbed her spine. She did not know why. Not yet. Lucien. What? Desmond told me to take an extra day. He has never told me to take a day. Then a sedan was outside my apartment. Then 2 men with a syringe. He was silent. Lucian, Marlo, tell me he's not. I will tell you the rest in the Berkshires. Tell me now. His silver eyes were sad. So sad. Desmond Fairweather has been working for the Silver Order since 1991. She closed her eyes. She did not cry. She had run out of crying for the day. She opened her eyes, looked out, at the city flashing past. She thought about every shift she had worked at the Brass Lantern. Every $20 bill. Him calling her kid. Him saying watch yourself on the subway. Him saying it last night. Him knowing. The Bentley merged onto the FDR. The city pulled away behind them. Ahead, the Henry Hudson Bridge. The Bronx. The country, beyond that. Her sister. Marlo leaned her head against the cold window glass. She closed her eyes. She did not sleep. But for the first time in 3 months, she rested. The Bentley drove north. The sun began to fall. The Bentley crossed into Massachusetts at 6:22. The sun was almost gone. Marlo watched it bleed out behind the Catskills. Orange. Then pink. Then bruise purple. The kind of November sunset that made even highway exits look holy. Lucian did not speak. He had not spoken in 2 hours. She did not mind. She was thinking about everything, about nothing. She was 26, and she had a mother who had died for her. A sister she had never met. A boss who had been hunting her for 4 years. A man beside her who had carried her out of a fire when she was a child, and watched her grow up from across coffee shops. And she was driving into a mountain range in November in a Bentley with a vampire, which was not on any list she had ever made. She almost laughed. She did not. She closed her eyes. The Bentley turned off the Mass Pike, 2-lane road, trees thick on both sides. The kind of trees that had been there before this country had a name then a turn. A gravel drive. A long drive. A very long drive. A clearing. A house Marlo sat up. A New England federal-style farmhouse. Wide porch. Shutters the color of dried blood. A chimney of river stones. A lantern burning on the porch. A real lantern. Oil. Not electric. Lucian parked. Did not turn off the engine. Marlo. Yes, before we go in. What? Your sister does not know you are coming. What? I did not tell her. Why? Because I did not know if I would find you tonight. Or in a year. Or ever. Lucienne. What? She doesn't know I exist. She knows you exist. She has been waiting 19 years. Marlo pressed her hand against her mouth. Go in first, are you sure? Yes. Tell her I'm here. Don't just walk me in, he nodded. Got out, walked up the porch steps, opened the door, went in. Marlo sat alone. Her hands had been shaking all day. They were shaking, in a different way now. She got out. The air smelled like cold pine and wood smoke. She walked to the porch, stopped on the bottom step. The front door opened. A woman stood in the doorway, 28, taller than Marlo by an inch. Darker hair, auburn instead of honey. Low braid, jeans, flannel shirt, boots, wood splitters calluses on her hands. She had Marlo's eyes. She had Marlo's mouth. She had their mother's chin. She was Marlo's sister. She was Imogen. She did not speak. Marlo did not speak. They stood like that for what felt like a year. Then Imogen came down the steps, slowly, stopped 1 step above Marlo. Looked at her like a woman who had memorized a face from a photograph and was finally seeing it move. You have her freckles. I do. I forgot you had her freckles. You remember her. I remember everything. You were 9. I was 9. Imogen, Marlo, I know. I know. They reached for each other at the same time. Marlo did not remember walking up that last step. She only remembered the smell of her sister's flannel, wood smoke, laundry soap. Something underneath, something old, something her body remembered. Mother, the smell of her mother, or close to it. Close enough. Marlo cried. Imogen cried. They cried on the porch while a vampire and a driver stood at a discreet distance and did not look at them. The mountains held them. The night held them. The lantern did not flicker. After a long time, Imogen pulled back, wiped her own face, wiped Marlo's face. Come inside, sister. Okay, there's stew on. Okay, and then we have to talk, because tomorrow we go to war. Marlo nodded. She did not know what that meant yet. She would in the morning. The kitchen was wide and low-ceilinged. A wood stove, a long pine table, a row of copper pots hanging from a beam adsized by hand in the 18th century. A man stood at the stove, older, 60-something, salt and pepper hair, reading glasses on his nose. He was stirring stew with a wooden spoon. He turned when they came in, kendent eyes, a faded scar across his forehead. The bearing of a man who had carried things. "Hello, Marlo. Hello? My name is Whitaker Bellamy. I'm an old friend of Lucien's. I've been Imogen's guardian since 2007, she nodded. I held you, he said, on the street, right after the fire, for 30 minutes, until social services came. You bit me on the shoulder. She almost laughed. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a hell of a bite. I was proud of you. He held out the wooden spoon. Stew. She nodded. She ate. 2 bowls. She had not realized she was so hungry. Imogen sat across from her and ate too. Lucien stood by the window and did not eat. Whit poured himself a glass of red wine and drank slowly. Nobody spoke for a while. When they did, it was Imogen. Show me the locket. Marlo pulled it from under her sweater, lifted the chain over her head, set it on the table. Imogen reached for it, held it carefully, like it was alive, turned it over, did not open it, held it to her ear, closed her eyes. What are you doing? Listening. To what? To her. Marlo did not understand. Imogen opened her eyes. You don't hear it yet. You will. When you wake up. The locket has her heartbeat in it. Mom's. Lucien helped her seal it in. The night before she died, Marlo stared. Lucien spoke from the window. A small piece of who she was. Not her soul. Nothing so dramatic. Just a rhythm. A pulse. Held in the silver. Marlo took the locket back, held it to her ear. She did not hear anything, yet she would. Whit cleared his throat. Ladies, I hate to be the one to say it. But, Imogen said, we have a problem. Desmond, Marlo said. Desmond. Lucien turned. Tell her. Whit set down his wine. Desmond Fairweather is the regional director of the Silver Order's Manhattan chapter. He has been since 2002. He hired you at the Brass Lantern in 2021 because his intelligence said you were no longer protected by a foster placement. He wanted you close. Watched. Why didn't he just take me then? Whit looked at Lucien. Lucien answered, because the locket only opens for a Hardigan who has come into her gift. He needed your gift to wake. He has been waiting for the same thing I have been waiting for. 4 years of him. 19 years of me. He has been waiting for me to break. Yes. And tonight you walked into my building. He saw it. He knew the waiting was over. She closed her sheet eyes, thought about Desmond. The extra 20. The pat on the shoulder. The wink. The kid. She thought about almost crying in his office last year when her landlord raised her rent. He had sat with her for an hour. Let her vent. She thought about how the whole time he had been deciding when to feed her to wolves. She opened her eyes. Where is he now? On his way here, Lucien said. What? He left the diner an hour ago. With 12 men. He will be here before midnight. How do you know? Because Hester has been listening to his office for 9 years. She placed a device in his desk in 2016. Hester. Marlo shook her head. This city. This world. Lucien said. Imogen stood, walked to a cupboard, opened it. Inside was not flour, not sugar, not cans of beans. Inside was a wall of weapons, knives, 2 crossbows, a rifle that looked older than the United States, 3 handguns, a leather belt with steel canisters Marlo did not recognize. Imogen turned. Sisters? Yes. Have you ever fired a gun? No. Have you ever held one? No. Have you ever wanted to? No. Tonight you will. Imogen. I am a waitress. You are a Hardigan. I am a waitress. Imogen smiled. A smile that was not entirely steady, sister. Tonight you will be both. Marlo looked at her. At this woman who had been a stranger 2 hours ago. At the calluses on her hands. The braid. The flannel. And the slight tremor in the smile. You're scared too. Imogen did not answer right away. I have been training for tonight since I was 12 years old. I have run drills. I have shot targets. I have studied the Silver Order. I have read every fiel Lucien could give me, but I have never killed a man. And tonight I will probably have to. And I do not know yet who I will be on the other side of that. Marlo looked at her sister. She had not expected that. She had expected armor. She had been given honesty. She reached across the table, took Imogen's hand. Then, "We don't know together." Imogen squeezed back. She did not smile this time. She nodded, stance wide, knees soft. Both eyes open, both eyes. Both eyes. I thought you closed one. Movies. Both eyes. Always both eyes. Right, trigger finger here. On the frame. Until you've decided. Decided what? To kill the man you're aiming at. Marlo lowered the pistol. I don't know if I can decide that. Her sister stepped close. Put a hand on her cheek. You don't have to. Tonight, just point. I'll decide. Marlo nodded. She did not know what to do with how much love she felt for a woman she had known 2 hours, so she nodded. By 11 they were ready. Whit was in the loft above the kitchen with the rifle. Lucien was in the front yard under a maple tree, not visible from the road. Not visible to anyone who did not know to look. Imogen and Marlo were in the kitchen. The lantern still burned on the porch. Why are we leaving the lantern? It's a beacon. For Desmond, he thinks he's coming to surprise us. We're letting him. Why? Because if we hide, he comes back tomorrow. If we let him come tonight, we end it tonight. What if we lose? Imogen looked at her. We will not lose. What if we do? Then they take the locket. They get into the vault. They burn the treaty. They unleash centuries of vendetta on every bloodline that signed it. They start in New York. Move to Boston. People die, sister. Many people. Marlo did not respond. She gripped the pistol. She watched the lantern flame. She waited. The first vehicle came at 11:41, headlights through the trees. Then a second. Then a third. 3 black SUVs. They parked at the bottom of the drive. They did not approach. They sat there, idling. For 2 full minutes, Marlo's heart pounded. Imogen stood beside her. Imogen did not move. Then the doors opened. Men poured out. Marlo counted. 12. Then 13. The 13th was Desmond. He wore a long black coat over a suit. He held a small leather case. He walked at the back of the group. Like a man inspecting a vineyard he owned. He looked relaxed. He looked unworried. He looked like a man who had done this many times. He stopped at the edge of the porch, looked up at the lantern, smiled. Marlo, sweetheart, come on out. Let's not make this hard. Marlo felt her stomach turn. She had heard him use that voice on customers who complained. He had used it on her. For 4 years. Imogen squeezed her hand. Wait, for what? For Lucien. Then it happened so fast that later, when Marlo tried to remember the sequence, she could not. The maple tree did not move. But something underneath the maple tree moved. The first man at the front of the group went down. He did not see what hit him. The second turned. He went down before he finished turning. The third raised a weapon. The weapon went down before the third man did. By the time the fourth had finished saying a word that started with W, Lucien Ashcroft was standing in the middle of them. He was not bloody. He was not breathing hard. He was just standing in the center of 9 men who were on the ground. The remaining 4 scrambled back. 1 fumbled for a flare gun. The flare went up. It hung in the November sky, white. Magnesium bright, loose, shielded his face. Imogen swore. Flares. The new model. Ultraviolet. He's been hurt, burned. Get the gun up. Now, Marlo raised the pistol. Desmond was already on the porch. He had moved while Lucien was hit. He had moved faster than a man his age should move. He came through the kitchen door. 2 men with him. Imogen fired. 1 went down. The other reached for her. Imogen broke his wrist, then his elbow, then his nose. In 3 motions, Marlo stared. She had not known her sister could do that. She had not noticed Desmond raising a pistol of his own. She had not noticed him aiming it at her. She heard the click of the safety. She turned. She froze. He was 3 feet from her. He smiled. That same warm smile. The one that had made her trust him for 4 years. Kid, hand me the locket. She did not move, Marlo. Sweetheart, hand me. The locket. She did not move. Last time. The locket. Or I shoot your sister first. He swung the gun toward Imogen. Marlo's mouth opened. She did not know what to say. Imogen was bent over the man she had just disabled. She would not see. She would not turn in time. Desmond's finger tightened on the trigger. Marlo panicked. Sempt. Oops. Happened. Something she did not understand. It started in the locket. Moved up her chest. Moved into her throat. Came out her mouth not as a sound but as a feeling. Every light in the kitchen went out. Every light. The lantern on the porch. The bulb above the table. The little bulb in the stove. The headlights of 3 SUVs at the bottom of the drive. All of it black Bansible black for 1 second. Then, it came back. But, not the way it had been. It came back as light. Light that did not come from any bulb. Light that came from the air itself. From the walls, from the wood, from Marlo's skin. She was glowing. Imogen was glowing. The kitchen was glowing like the inside of a sun. Desmond screamed, covered his face, fired blind. The bullet hit the ceiling. He fired again, hit a copper pot. Imogen rose up out of her crouch like a wave. Took the pistol from Desmond's hand the way a mother takes a knife from a toddler. Put the muzzle of his own pistol under his chin. Why? He did not answer. Why our mother? He did not answer. Why our family? He did not answer. Look at me, Desmond, he looked. His eyes watered from the light. He spoke. His voice was thin. You don't understand. The order was founded by men who watched their wives burn in 1692. They believed your bloodline was the cause. They were wrong. But they were not wrong about what your bloodline could do. Your mother could darken a room with her mind. That's not a reason to withdraw us. It was a reason for them. It was a reason. It became a habit. Habits live longer than the reasons that started them. That's the worst thing I have ever heard. It is what it is. It is what you let it be. She pulled the trigger. Marlo flinched. The room flinched. But the trigger only clicked. Imogen had already removed the magazine. She had done it when she took the gun. Marlo had not seen it. Imogen pulled the empty pistol back, turned it in her hand, struck Desmond in the temple with the butt. He dropped. He did not move. Marlo stood very still. The light from her skin began to fade. The kitchen began to look like a kitchen again. Imogen turned to her. Sisters. Yes. Are you okay? I don't know. Sit down. I don't think I can. Sit down. Now. Marlo sat. Her legs gave out at the same time she sat. So it worked out. Imogen knelt in front of her. You did good. You did good. I didn't shoot anyone. You blinded 12 men. I did that. You did that. Oh. She fainted. She did not faint hard. She faded. She came back about a minute later. When she came, was kneeling beside her. His face was scorched on one side. The skin from temple to jaw was raw, pink. Healing too fast. She could see it healing. Cells reorganizing. Tissue knitting. It was disgusting and beautiful, and she could not look away. You're hurt. I'll mend. I can see you mending, I know. That's strange, I know. Lucien, yes. I made a lot of light. You did. I didn't know I could. You can. I don't know how I did it. You don't have to. Not yet. You'll learn. He held out his hand. She looked at it. She did not take it. Not because she didn't want to. Because she wasn't sure yet what taking it would mean. He understood. He withdrew it. Patient. 237 years patient. She stood up on her own. The kitchen was a mess. Unconscious men in the yard. Desmond slumped against the wall. A vampire with half his face still healing. She started to laugh. She laughed for a long time. Until she cried. Until she laughed again. Imogen sat beside her. Imogen laughed too. Imogen had not laughed in a long time. Marlo could tell. Imogen's laugh sounded like their mother's. Marlo did not know how she knew that. She just knew. The mountains outside held the house. The night held the mountains. The Hardigan women had not ended. The Hardigan women were just beginning. The dawn came up over the Berkshires at 6:58. Lucien had retreated to the basement before sunrise. The basement of an 18th century farmhouse had no windows. It had been designed that way. By him. In 1798. She did not ask why. Wit poured her coffee. Marlo sat at the table. Imogen was on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun come up. Black or cream? Black. Your mother took it with cream. Oh. Imogen takes it with cream. I'll switch. No, you won't. Drink it the way you like it. That's the point. She looked at him. He looked tired. He looked relieved. He looked like a man who had been holding his breath 19 years. Finally exhale. Whit. Yes. What happens now? You decide. What do you mean? You decide. You can go back to New York. We will help you. You can leave. We will help you. You can stay. We will love that. You can move to Paris. We will love that less, but we will adjust. That's a lot of options. You have 19 years to make up for. Yeah. Take your time. She drank her coffee. She thought about the brass lantern, her uniform on a hook, her apron, the mail piling up under her door, her landlord. Hector and Lupe, the line cooks, who had loved her like a younger sister and had nothing to do with any of this and would wonder where she went. She made a decision. Whit? Yes, I want to stay a while. Good. I want to call Hector and Lupe. Tell them I'm okay. Good. I want to learn what I am. Good. I want to know Imogen. Good. I want to know my mother. Through Imogen. Good. She stopped, she thought. And I want to know Lucienne. Whit smiled. A smile that did not say anything. A smile that said everything. Good. She finished her coffee. Walked onto the porch. Wrapped herself in a corner of her sister's blanket. Imogen leaned her head on Marlo's shoulder. You're shorter than I expected. You're taller. I had more food. I had more shifts. The sun came up, the cold did not lift, but the light did. The first weeks were strange. Marlo slept in a bedroom Imogen had set up 19 years ago and refused to dismantle. A twin bed with a quilt their mother had made. A small dresser. A window facing east. The dresser was already half filled with clothes that would fit Marlo. Sweaters in her size. Boots in her size. A nightgown folded in tissue paper. She did not ask. Imogen would have said, I had to believe you were coming. I had to put your clothes somewhere, so Marlo did not ask. She unfolded the nightgown. She wore it. It fit. She slept 14 hours that first night. She slept 12 the second. She slept 10 the third. By the second week, she was sleeping 8. Like a normal person. She woke up, and her body did not hurt. She had forgotten what that felt like. In the mornings, she helped Whit. 3 goats. A vegetable garden. 4 chickens whose names were all variations of Margaret. Because they all looked alike. She learned to milk goats. She learned to split kindling. She learned to bake bread from a sourdough starter that Whit said was older than she was. In the afternoons, she sat with Imogen. They talked for hours. Imogen remembered everything. Their mother's perfume, their mother's hands, their mother singing in the kitchen while making blueberry pancakes on Saturday mornings. Marlo drank it in like water. She asked questions. Imogen answered. What was she like? Funny. Funnier than people gave her credit for. She made bad puns. The kind dads make. She laughed at her own puns. Did she ever talk about our father? She said he left because he was scared of what we were. She said being scared was its own kind of evil. She said we were better off without him. Did she sing? All the time. She sang in the shower. She sang doing dishes. She sang you to sleep when you cried as a baby. You always cried. I cried. You cried more than I did. Why? I don't know. You were a serious baby. You looked at things hard. Mom used to say, you were already mad about something you hadn't found out about yet. Marlo laughed. Imogen laughed. And the laughter, in that small kitchen in the Berkshires, was the first real laughter Marlo had laughed in 26 years. That did not feel like it was costing her something. One evening in mid-December, the snow came. It came down hard, quiet, the way snow comes in mountains, the way it muffles a whole world. Marlo stood on the porch, wrapped in a wool coat that had belonged to her grandmother, and watched it fall. Lucien came out and stood beside her. He did not feel the cold. She knew that now. But he had put on a coat anyway, because she was wearing one. Because that was what people did when they stood beside other people. He had been doing more things like that lately. Breathing when he didn't need to. Yawning when she did. Drinking from a cup he could not drink from. Lucien? Yes. Can I ask you something? Yes. How does it work? How does what work? Being you. He was quiet for a moment. I drink, but not what the stories say. From a service my family established in 1881. Donors. Paid. Tested. Anonymous. I have not heard a person to feed in over 100 years. Okay, I sleep when I want. I do not need it the way you do. I prefer the night, because the sun on my skin is painful but not deadly. I have ways to be in the sun. Not for long, not comfortably. But for an afternoon. With you, if you wanted that, she felt her face go warm. Okay. I do not turn into mist. I do not turn into a bat. Those are stories. I am only as fast as I am.
As cold as I am.
How fast are you? You saw. Yeah. She watched the snow fall on the field beyond the porch. Lucien, yes. Does it hurt? Does what hurt? Living that long. He looked at the snow. Yes. Always. Mostly. Some days less. Some days more. What makes it less? He looked at her then. Just for a second. Right now is less. She felt her chest do something complicated. She did not respond. She did not need to. He turned back to the snow. My family was killed in 1789, he said, by a man who became what I am. I was 19. I died. He brought me back. He thought he was being kind? He wasn't? No. He was lonely. I learned the difference young. What happened to him? I killed him in 1812. Oh, it is a long story, mostly not a good one, but the short version. I was made by a cruel man. I have spent 2 centuries trying to be a different kind of thing. Are you? I try. She slipped her hand out of her coat pocket, put it on the porch railing between them. She did not touch him. She just put her hand near his. He looked at her hand. He did not move. After a moment, after a long, careful moment, he placed his fingers next to hers. Not on top, beside. The cold of him through the cold air did not feel like cold. It felt like a question. She did not answer it yet, but she did not move her hand. They stood like that for a long time. The snow fell. In February, Marlo heard the heartbeat. She had been wearing the locket every day. She had held it to her ear many times. She had not heard anything. Then one morning she was lying in bed, and not yet awake, and not yet asleep, and she heard it. A small, soft, regular pulse. Coming from the silver around her neck, she lay very still. She listened. It was real. It was her mother's heart. Her mother had been 38 years old. A single mom of 2 girls in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Her mother had made blueberry pancakes on Saturdays and bad puns the rest of the week, and had darkened a room with her mind to buy 2 minutes for her daughters' lives. Her mother had a heartbeat. The heartbeat was still happening in a tiny silver locket on Marlo's chest. For 20 years after the woman it belonged to had died, Marlo sat up and cried. She had cried enough. She put her hand over the locket. She closed her eyes. She listened. She listened for a long time. She listened until her own heart slowed down to match. When the 2 heartbeats were the same, Marlo opened her eyes. She got up, got dressed, went downstairs. Imogen was already in the kitchen, pouring coffee. She looked at Marlo's face. She set coffee down. You heard her. I heard her. Imogen came around the counter, put her arms around her sister. They did not speak. The locket between them ticked quietly, like something's coming home. The silver order did not stop with Desmond. The morning after the heartbeat, Lucien drove down from the basement at dusk with news. 2 men in Boston, 1 in Philadelphia. They were the senior counsel of the order. They knew where the farmhouse was. They knew Desmond had failed. They were coming. Imogen stood at the kitchen counter and listened. Did not flinch. How many? 6. Maybe 8. They will not bring foot soldiers this time. Why not? Because they don't trust foot soldiers anymore. Not after one of them woke up in a hospital and told a state trooper about a fight on a porch in November. How long do we have? 3 nights. Maybe 4. Marlo set down her toast. Then we don't wait. Imogen turned. What? We don't wait. Desmond waited. He came to us. Look how that turned out, sister. I have been waiting for whole life. By you. By Lucien. By a mother I never met. I am done with waiting. I am tired of being the thing other people prepare for. Imogen looked at her, a long look, not surprised. Not exactly. But measuring. You want to go to Boston. I want to go to Boston. You have been training for 6 weeks. And you have been training for 16 years. And Lucien for 2 centuries. And wit since before I could walk. Tell me what you all were waiting for. If not this. Imogen did not answer. Wit answered. From the doorway, he had been listening. He had been listening for a while. She's right. Wit. She's right. Imogen. She's a baby. She's a Hardigan. She made light. She decides where she goes. Lucien did not speak. Lucien looked at Marlo. Lucien nodded. So they went to Boston. The senior council met in a private dining room on the top floor of a club on Beacon Street. A club that had been there since 1822. A club Lucien had been a member of since 1849. He still had his membership card. It still worked. They went in through the front door. Hester met them in the lobby. She wore the dove-colored suit. She carried a small clutch. Inside the clutch was a list. The list was every man on the council. Their names, their wives, their children, their addresses. The schools their grandchildren attended. Hester had been building the list for 31 years. She handed it to Lucien. She kissed Marlo on the cheek. She said, "Don't kill them, dear. Just frighten them." Marlo blinked. "You don't want them dead. I want them to live, and to be afraid, every morning, for the rest of their lives. That the women they tried to erase are above them, knowing that we know where their grandchildren go to school. Knowing that we have chosen mercy, that's terrifying. That's the point." Hester smiled. Then she walked out of the lobby and was gone. Marlo stared after her. Then she turned to Lucien. "Why is she scarier than you?" "Because she is." They went upstairs, 6 men. A long table. Dinner half eaten. They looked up when the door opened. They looked surprised. They looked less surprised when they saw Lucien. But they had not expected Marlo. They had especially not expected Marlo to be glowing softly. She was learning to control it. She had been practicing. She walked to the head of the table. Set Hester's list down. "Read it." The oldest man at the table picked it up. He was perhaps 80. White hair, a signet ring on his pinky. He read the first page. His face changed. He read the second. His face changed more. He looked up at her. "What do you want?" "I want my family left alone. I want my sister left alone. I want every Hardigan, every Ashcroft, every signatory of the 1789 treaty left alone. Forever. And if we don't agree." She leaned forward. She let the light brighten, just a little. The room dimmed around her. The candles flickered. The men at the table looked away. "Then I come to your daughter's wedding," she said. "I come to your grandson's bar mitzvah. I come to your wife's hospital room. I come, quietly, into every important moment of every person you love. And I let them see what I am. And I let them ask you why." The room was very quiet. The old man set the list down. His hand was trembling. "That is not a threat I would have expected from a Hardigan. I am not the Hardigans you knew." Evidently, he looked at the other men. They did not look back. That was the answer. He turned to Marlo. "It is agreed. In writing. In writing. By dawn." She picked up the list, folded it, slid it back into her coat. She did not look at the men again. She walked out. Lucien followed. Wit followed. Imogen followed last. She paused at the door, looked back at the oldest man. She said one thing. "Our mother was funny." The man frowned. Did not understand. She kept walking. It was the only eulogy any of them would ever give the man who had ordered the fire. By dawn, the document was signed. Hester filed it in 3 places. A safety deposit box in Zurich, a vault under 1 Wall Street, a copy with a lawyer in Hanoi who had been the Ashcroft Trust's overseas counsel since 1962. Marlo did not understand why Hanoi. Hester said, "Because nobody looks there, and because the lawyer is one of mine." Marlo stopped asking. She just trusted Hester now. Most people did. Eventually, they drove back to the Berkshires in the Bentley. The 4 of them. Imogen and Marlo in the back, Lucien beside the driver. Wit in front of Imogen. Imogen fell asleep on Marlo's shoulder. 20 minutes north of Hartford, Imogen Hardigan, who had been training for war for 16 years, who had broken 3 men's bones in 3 motions, who had taken a pistol from a man's hand the way a mother takes a knife from a toddler, slept on her sister's like a child. Marlo did not move. Marlo did not breathe loudly. Marlo watched the highway pass under them and felt, for the first time in her life, like the older one. Even though she wasn't, she thought. Maybe this is what sisters did. She did not know. She was learning. Spring came. It came late, the way it does in the Berkshires. The maple sap ran in March. Whit boiled it down for 2 weeks. The kitchen smelled like a cathedral made of sugar. In April, the dogwoods bloomed. In May, Marlo drove down to Tarrytown for the first time. By herself. She had bought a building there. A small storefront on Main Street. Brick, 2 big windows. A pressed tin ceiling. An old wooden floor that creaked in 3 places. She had bought it with money from a trust she had not known existed. Set up by a man who had been waiting for her, since before she was born. She had insisted on paying him back. He had laughed. He had said, "Marlo, I have money from 1789. You will not insult it by paying it back." So she had named the cafe after a small light he had once kept burning on a porch in the Berkshires. The Lantern. She painted the sign herself. She was not good at painting signs. It looked handmade. She decided that was the point. Imogen drove down on weekends and helped with renovations. Whit came down once to install the espresso machine. He had owned a cafe in Boston in the 1980s. He still knew how. Lucien did not come. "Not yet," he had said. "Tell me when you're ready." She was learning that with him. Patience was love. She had not understood that before. She had thought love was urgency. She had been wrong. The Lantern opened on the 2nd Saturday of April. Marlo wore an apron, honey hair in a loose braid, freckles in full bloom. Imogen ran the register. Whit ran the kitchen. Hester sat in the corner booth with a newspaper and a cappuccino and pretended she did not own 40% of the business. She owned 40% of the business. She had insisted. Hector and Lupe drove up from the Brass Lantern on Sunday afternoon. Hector cried when he saw Marlo. Lupe slapped her on the arm for not calling. Then Lupe cried too. They ate stew on the porch behind the cafe. Hector said, "We thought you were dead. I almost was. Your boss said you ran off with a man. I sort of did. Was he worth it?" Marlo thought about it. She thought about a black wool coat on a subway car, about cold arms around her waist, about silver eyes in a window in February, about 2 hands placed on a porch railing, not touching, but near. He's worth waiting to find out. Lupe nodded. Lupe understood. Lupe had been married 34 years. She knew the difference. 3 Saturdays into being open, Lucien came. It was a bright, cold morning in late April. Marlo was behind the counter wiping the espresso machine, with a damp cloth when the bell above the door rang. She looked up. He was standing in the doorway. He wore a dark suit, no tie, a white shirt. A small bouquet of dogwood blossoms in his hand. The light from the door was bright behind him. He did not flinch. He had been preparing for the sun for weeks. For her, he stepped inside. The door closed behind him. He stopped halfway to the counter. "You came," she said. "You opened. I opened. I waited, I know." "Are you ready?" "Yes." He walked to the counter. Set the dogwood blossoms on it. He did not sit yet. He looked at her like a man who had walked across 2.5 centuries to stand exactly where he was standing. "Marlo." "Yes." "I have a question." "Ask. Do you want me to make you what I am?" She set down the rag. She had known the question was coming. She had known for months. She had thought about her answer for months. She thought about her mother dying at 38. She thought about her sister learning to braid her own hair by candlelight in a Berkshire's farmhouse. She thought about Whit, 68 years old, slowing down, still smiling. She thought about Hester, brilliant, tired, happy. She thought about herself, 26. With a light in her chest she was still learning to control. With a sister she had just found. With a man in front of her who had loved her family for 2.5 centuries. She thought about how short forever was for him, how long forever was for her. She thought about the difference. Lucien. Yes. I want to live a life. Yes. I want to get tired sometimes. Yes. I want my hair to go gray. Yes. I want to make you sit through that with me. He closed his eyes. He almost smiled. He almost cried. He did neither. He nodded. That is what I hoped you would say. Why? Because what I learned in 237 years is that the gift is not the length. The gift is the limit. It is the limit that makes the days mean anything. I have had too many days that did not mean anything. I want to have a few that do. She looked at him. She reached up, put her hand on his cheek. His cheek was cold. She did not mind. She had not minded in a long time. Lucien, yes, sit down. Have a coffee. He laughed. He laughed like a man who had not laughed in a very long time, and had forgotten what his own laugh sounded like. He sat down at the counter. She poured him a cup of black coffee. He could not really drink it, but he held it, the warmth of the ceramic in his cold hands. The smell. The ritual. He held it. He'd shan hold it. The bell above the door rang. 2 customers came in. A man and his wife, older, holding hands. The man tipped his cap. The wife smiled. They sat by the window. Marlo smiled at them. Welcome to the Lantern. She poured them coffee. She brought them muffins. She did not tell them that the man at the counter behind her was 237 years old. They did not need to know. They needed coffee. And the man across the table held his wife's hand the way men hold their wives' hands when they have been married long enough to mean it. And Marlo looked at them. And she thought, that is the thing. Whatever else, that is the thing worth staying mortal for. She walked back behind the counter. Lucien was still holding his coffee. He looked up at her. You are smiling. I am. Why? Because they are old. And they are still here. And they came to my cafe. On a Saturday morning. In Terrytown. For coffee. That makes you happy. That makes me everything. He set the cup down. He reached across the counter. He put his cold hand over her warm one. She did not pull away. She turned her hand over. She laced her fingers through his. Imogen came out of the kitchen with a tray of muffins. She saw. She did not say anything. She set the tray down. She walked back into the kitchen. She was smiling. That evening, after the cafe closed, Marlo drove Lucien back to the Berkshires. She drove. He sat in the passenger seat. He had never been driven by a Hardigan before. He had always been the one when driving. He watched her hands on the wheel. He watched the way the streetlights moved across her face. He thought, this is how it ends. Not the long way. The short way. The way humans do it. A drive. A radio. A woman with honey hair humming along to a song he did not know. He had been afraid of this for 100 years. He was not afraid anymore. They pulled into the gravel drive at almost 10. The lantern was burning on the porch. Imogen was reading on the porch swing, a blanket around her shoulders. Whit was in his chair beside her, with his glasses on the end of his nose and a book in his lap. Marlo, parked, got out, came around to Lucien's side, opened his door. He looked at her. You opened my door. I did. Why? Because I wanted to. He stepped out. She closed the door behind him. They walked up the porch steps together. Imogen looked up. She nodded at Lucien. You took your time? I always do. Sit, both of you. Whit made cobbler. They sat. Whit served cobbler. Lucien did not eat, but he held a bowl. Marlo ate 2 helpings. The 4 of them sat on the porch in the cold spring night and did not say anything important. Which was the most important thing they had ever done together. Years passed, the way years pass. Marlo was 28, then 30, then 33. The cafe grew. Then it stayed the same size on purpose. She did not want it bigger. She wanted it the same. Imogen met a veterinarian in town. A woman named Beatrice with a kind voice and a left dimple, and a black Labrador named Charlie. Beatrice did not know yet about the Silver Order, about the locket, about the gift. Would tell her, when the time was right. She was learning patience from Marlo. Marlo was learning everything from Lucien, mostly. How to read poetry slowly. How to sit in a room with somebody and not need to fill the silence. How to let love be patient and quiet and old. The way good love is. Whit died in November of 2031 in his sleep. 73 years old. A book on his chest. His reading glasses on the end of his nose. Marlo found him in the morning when she came in to check the wood stove. She sat with him for an hour before she called anyone. She told him about the cafe. She told him about Imogen and Beatrice. She told him about a baby goat that had been born the week before that already followed Wit around the yard, like a dog. She told him the goat was going to be heartbroken. She told him that he had been her father. She had never said it to him. While he was alive, she regretted that. She said it now. She kissed his forehead. She called Imogen. They buried him on the hill behind the farmhouse, beside a stone that had been placed there in 2008. A stone with the name Evelyn Beatrice Hardigan, 1969 to 2007. Marlo had not known the stone was until the day they buried Wit. Lucien had placed it the year after the fire. He had not told her. She did not ask why. She knew why. He had not wanted to her come before she was ready. She stood between the two graves on a cold November day. Her mother on one side, her father, in every way that mattered. On the other, Imogen stood beside her. Lucien stood behind them both. Hester, 85 years old and small and fierce, stood beside Lucien with a cane and a hat and a fur coat. The dogwoods were bare. The mountains held them. Marlo got married in May-spring of 2034. She was 34. She wore a dress that had been her grandmother's. Margaret Hardigan, 1969. Imogen had kept it in a seed chest in the attic of the farmhouse. It needed to be taken in at the waist. It needed nothing else. The wedding was on the porch of the farmhouse. A judge from Lenox. Imogen as the witness. Beatrice as the other witness. Hester in the front row in her wheelchair. Hector and Lupe in the second row. The baby goat, now full grown, tied to the porch railing because nobody trusted him to behave. He did not behave. He ate the bouquet. Marlo laughed. Lucien held her hands. He had practiced standing in the sun for 2 hours straight. He had built up to it. For months, so that he could be married to her in the daylight. So that she would not have to do it at sundown. He had told nobody. She had figured it out anyway. She had not said anything. She had let him have the surprise. When the judge said the words. When Lucien said the words. When Marlo said the words, the locket on her chest, warm, from her body, quiet now, or not quiet, just synced with her own pulse, so that she could not hear it as separate anymore. Her mother was there. Her mother had been there a long time. The judge said, "You may kiss the bride." Lucien did. Imogen cried. Beatrice cried. Hester smiled. Smiled like a woman who had been near a great fire her whole life, and was finally inside. The baby goat ate the second half of the bouquet. The day Marlo Hardigan Ashcroft turned 65 was a Saturday in October of 1965. The lantern was still open. It had been open 39 years. Imogen was running it that morning. Imogen was 67. Beatrice had been gone 6 years. Imogen had grown her hair out long and gone fully silver, and looked more than ever like the woman in the 1872 photograph. Cordelia, Marlo's great-great-great-grandmother. The Hardigan women looked the same in every century. Marlo sat at the counter in her own cafe. She wore a sweater she had owned for 20 years. Her hair was honey shot with gray. Her freckles had not faded. Her green eyes were the same. She was tired, the good tired. Not the brass lantern tired, the tired of a long good day at the end of a long good life. Lucien sat beside her. He looked exactly the same. He had looked the same for 40 years. He would look the same for 40 more. He held a cup of coffee he could not drink. She held the cup of tea she could. Outside, the maples in Terrytown were full red. A young woman came in, 20s, honey hair, tired eyes. She was wearing the apron of a diner 2 towns over. Marlo could read it on the embroidered name tag. The woman ordered a coffee. She looked exhausted. She looked the way Marlo had looked at 26. Marlo poured the coffee herself. She slid it across the counter. She put a muffin beside it. The woman tried to pay. Marlo shook her head. "On the house. You don't have to. I know." The woman looked at her, confused, almost suspicious, the way Marlo used to look when Desmond gave her the extra 20. Except this was not that. This was something else. The woman would understand someday, or she would not. That was up to her. Marlo smiled at her. "Get home safe, sweetheart." The woman blinked. She took the coffee. She took the muffin. She nodded. She walked out. The bell above the door rang. Marlo watched her go, watched her get into a small car, watched her drive away under the red maples. She turned back to Lucien. He was looking at her. His silver eyes were soft. He had been watching her watch the woman. What? Nothing. Lucien, I love you, I know. Always, I know. She put her hand over his hand on the counter. He did not move. Outside, the wind picked up. A few maple leaves came down. The bell above the door of the lantern was still the locket around her neck. The tuiches, the heartbeat, hers now, or her mother's, or both. She did not know anymore. She did not need to know. The sun came through the front window. It fell on Lucien's face. He did not flinch. He turned toward it. He closed his silver eyes. He let the light have him. Marlo Hardigan Ashcroft. 65 years old, in a cafe she had built with money older than her country, beside the man who had carried her out of a fire when she was 7, and had waited 2 centuries for her, and would mourn her one day and live on. She did not feel sorry for him. She felt grateful. For all of it, the bell above the door rang. Another customer. Marlo picked up the coffee pot. She walked out from behind the counter. She walked, on her good tired feet, into the rest of her good tired wonderful life.